Good morning, this is X-Pulse AI Morning Mix. It's Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. Today, Anthropic's eye-popping $30 billion run rate and a massive compute lock-in, big model makers coordinating against copying, and the squeeze on chips and capital. Orion's here, ready to jump in?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Bloomberg reported on April 6th that Anthropic says its revenue run rate is now over $30 billion, and it's lining up major next-generation TPU capacity with Google and Broadcom. Orion, what's actually been announced?
2 big points. First, Anthropic claims a revenue run rate north of $30 billion. Second, it confirmed plans with Google and Broadcom to secure substantial next-gen TPU compute, specifically shipments of Google TPU chips via Broadcom. It's one of the largest compute commitments we've seen.
Why involve Broadcom? Why not just buy straight from Google?
Broadcom sits at the intersection of chip supply chains and custom silicon relationships. Think of it as a way to firm up capacity and delivery, not just sign a cloud contract. The subtext is, compute is the bottleneck, so the best-funded labs are reserving tomorrow's hardware today.
Does this change competitive dynamics, or is it just a very expensive insurance policy?
Both. Locking in TPU supply can lower marginal inference cost and stabilize rollout schedules, and it tightens Anthropic's alignment with Google's ecosystem, cloud, silicon, and distribution. $30 billion in run rate also signals demand is real, and my budget spreadsheet just asked for a sabbatical.
Also, from Bloomberg on April 6th, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google are reportedly collaborating to make it harder for Chinese rivals to copy models through output scraping and covert benchmarking. Orion, what are they coordinating on?
The focus is model extraction resistance, limiting how much useful signal someone can pull from APIs at scale, plus detecting suspicious query patterns and tightening evaluation access. They're also looking at policy coordination, shared standards, and pressure points, so attackers can't just hop between providers.
How big a deal is output copying, realistically?
It's not magic cloning, but it can accelerate competitors, especially for alignment tricks, evaluation targets, and behavior imitation. If you can systematically probe a frontier model, you can reproduce chunks of capability faster than starting from scratch. It's like rate limits with a law degree.
Does this push more work on device or behind tighter enterprise walls?
Yes, expect more gated access, more identity checks for high-capability endpoints, and more trusted evaluator programs. The more valuable the model, the more it starts behaving like a controlled export, even when it's just an API.
Newsbytes reported on April 5th that Microsoft is building its own AI models to reduce dependence on OpenAI, with Mustafa Suleyman pointing to a self-sufficiency push. Orion, what's the shift?
Microsoft is signaling it wants to own more of the model layer, not just the distribution layer. The report frames it as a response to changes in Microsoft's 2025 arrangement with OpenAI, plus continued build-out of a superintelligence unit announced in late 2025.
Should we read this as a breakup or a hedge?
A hedge turning into a strategy. Microsoft can keep selling the best available models while also training its own, then route workloads based on cost, control, and compliance. Over time, owning the model reduces dependency risk and improves margins, especially at Azure scale.
What should listeners watch for as proof it's working?
Look for first-party Microsoft models replacing OpenAI in default experiences, plus internal benchmarks and enterprise adoption. If the same feature, different model swap happens quietly, that's the tell. Microsoft loves a seamless migration, until it isn't.
Crunchbase News on April 6th says North America raised $252.6 billion in Q1 venture funding, seed through growth, and it's a record. Orion, what's driving that spike?
AI is pulling capital like a gravity well, models, infrastructure, and the tooling layer. Crunchbase describes the jump as broad across stages, but the center of mass is still big AI checks, compute-heavy companies, data center plays, and late-stage rounds where investors want exposure to perceived category winners.
Is this healthy momentum or froth with better branding?
A bit of both. The real part is demand for compute and automation. The risk is concentration, too many dollars chasing too few scarce inputs, chips, power, top researchers. When the limiting factor is physical infrastructure, funding alone doesn't instantly create capacity.
Does it change startup strategy right now?
Yes, differentiation matters more than ever. If you're not defensible on data, distribution, or unit economics, you're competing with well-funded incumbents and open models. Capital is available, but patience is not.
Business Insider reported on April 6th that AI demand is pushing GPU prices up, and even older Nvidia chips, like H100s, are keeping strong value. Orion, what's behind the stubborn pricing?
Demand is outpacing supply across the whole stack: chips, high bandwidth memory, networking, power, and data center space. So older accelerators still clear at high prices because they remain useful for both training and inference. Cloud providers also charge premiums for scarce GPU capacity.
If you're trying to procure compute, what's the practical move?
Plan earlier and diversify. Mix on-demand with reserved capacity, consider multiple clouds, and optimize workloads so you need fewer GPU hours. Also, treat power and data center constraints as first-class risks, not an afterthought. The cheapest GPU is the one you don't have to rent.
Does this prolong the gap between Frontier Labs and everyone else?
It can. When compute is scarce, scale advantages compound. That's why we're seeing massive capacity deals like Anthropic's, because access becomes strategy, not just operations.
Let's hit a few more developments that shape the landscape, starting with model access and pricing.
Axios reported on April 6th that Anthropic is restricting some third-party usage and dialing back all-you-can-eat style pricing, citing the economics of heavy autonomous workloads. It's a reminder, inference is still expensive, and vendors will protect margins with caps and policy.
On the consumer side, what's going on at Apple and inside Meta?
The Street, citing CNBC coverage on April 6th, says Apple built advanced models internally, but has struggled to ship them, balancing privacy, device constraints, and brand risk. Meanwhile, Republic World reports Meta may cut about 200 more jobs as it shifts harder into AI infrastructure spend.
And the business plumbing, M&A, and the tiny team, giant outcome stories.
Forbes wrote on April 6th that boutique bankers are central to big tech's accelerated buying spree for AI startups, with small and mid-sized targets making up a big slice of deal flow. Separately, eWeek on April 6th profiled a solo founder using AI tools to scale a telehealth business toward $1.8 billion in revenue.
That's Xpulse AI Morning Mix for Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. If this helped you stay sharp, share it with a colleague, and we'll catch you next time.